Hi, welcome back. I'm Shannon with Modern Traditional Quilts. Today we're going to do our next block in our 9-patch Charm Square Quilt Along. We're doing the Broken Dish block. Some interesting notes about this block. I was kind of looking at what it was historically called. Some people call it square in a broken dish. If you go through something like Electric Quilt or something more, one of those technology programs, they call it Mosaic number 10. So just kind of know that it's kind of called a couple of different names. It's very similar to the block we did last time. I feel like the center has a diamond in it, whereas last time our center was white. And so just kind of review our plan. We are on block number 3. It's number 3 right here in our diagram. And if we look at the quilt, it's been flipped on its side, so it's over right here. We're going to look at how to do this block. The broken dish in our layout diagram is in this corner right here. I chose to use some of the kind of gray slate fabrics for this one, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so first thing you want to do is lay out your pieces from your half square triangles. You remember our very first episode we made all of these. And always I like to use this tip still. Squint at your colors and make sure that you like your half square triangles placement. This is a photo of how I laid out mine right in front of me on the sewing table. And you can see that I've got maybe some heavier prints in the corners. Actually, I'm looking at this now that I can see it on the screen. And I'm actually going to change these two fabric places. I think this one's heavy and this one's lighter. And I think I'm going to like that a little bit better. This is a diagram that's going to show us if you're just using a random color placement. This is a different fabric scheme that's being used. And my strategy is to sew this into columns. Okay, so I'm going to sew column 1 vertically to column 2. So I just pick up these, flip it on top of each other, and I don't cut my threads. This makes it so that when we get to sewing the crosswise seams, that it's all pinned together nicely, and it makes it easy to press our seams. Okay, so we're here at the sewing machine, and you can see I've got my pieces laid out. I did swip these two squares orientation just like I pointed to a minute ago, just simply because I thought the colors were a little bit off. I'm going to start with this column. I'm going to sew this column to this one. Then I'm going to go this column over this column and over. So here's a demonstration of how I'm going to do that. Put our right sides together. Feed dogs down. Here's my next two. If you look, that the orientation is opposite one another, so you just want to make sure that I maintain that orientation when I bring it to the sewing machine. I'm going to go ahead and do the next two, this side on top of that side. These two, looks like our whites are together. And then my bottom two, look at these two are kind of together. It kind of makes a flying geese unit, which is kind of fun, but with mismatched colors. My seams are buttoned against each other. There we go. And now I have seams 1 sewn onto seam 2. I'm going to press these open using my ironing board, and then we'll go back and do this next column. Alright, so I've gone through, pressed 1 and 2. Now I'm going to take column 3 here and put it on top of column 2. These are all chain pieces, and if you look, I did not separate them. That makes it so that we stay in the right orientation for our piecing. So here I've got, angle it just a smidge more so you can see. Sorry, not a professional cinematographer here. Okay, column 1, column 2, and I'm going to take column 3 Put that on top of there. I'm going to sew down this line, and then I'm going to repeat. Here's the next one. Go down this line, next line, and next line until I complete the columns. Also go ahead and repeat the same thing with column 4. All right, so if you look, we've done rows 1, 2, and 3, columns 1, 2, and 3. I haven't snipped any threads yet. We can see that we're getting that nice diamond shape in the back. And we also want to make sure that we are pressing these seams of each row in opposite directions of one another. And the reason is that we're going to want these to nest. So here I've got, go ahead and got columns 1, 2, and 3 done. Now I'm going to put column 4 onto that as well. So just same thing, flip the last remaining square in that column, put 4 on top of 3, going to go to the machine, sew that seam down, and I'm going to repeat that with my last remaining 3 half square triangles. Alright, so this is my tip for newbie quilters. Years ago when I was first learning how to quilt, I brought one of my quilt tops to a neighbor of mine, and it wasn't working. The rows wouldn't line up, one side was longer than the other, and I couldn't do this. And the neighbor friend of mine, and she was quite cute. She first of all told me that I was too young because I was a really young mom, didn't have time for it, which was kind of true. But I wasn't going to give up. But one thing she taught me, and this is never written in any quilting patterns I've ever seen or any books, how to nest a seam and what are they talking about. So I have a diagram. I'm gonna, if you look in my picture, I can hold up the one that I just did. But if you look at the picture, the top row is going to the left, the bottom row, the seams are going to the right. Okay. A lot of quilters have an argument about this. Should I just press the seams open like you would in a garment or a piece of clothing? For me, I long arm quilt, I machine quilt, and when I do that, there can be a lot of tension on these blocks for a little bit, and I've seen seams pop open. And I don't want that to happen, so I have found my seams last better if I press it over to one side. I don't want any of the thread that I use to sew my quilts with to break open. That doesn't happen very often, but I have seen that in antique quilts and some of the first quilts I ever did because I didn't know to use cotton quality thread. I just used whatever I could find. So don't clip your threads in between those columns. Instead, what we're going to do now is we're going to fold one column on top of, one row on top of each other, and you're going to see that your seams are already pinned together pretty much, which is really quite a fantastic trick that she taught me. And you'll see that these seams play opposite of one another. And when they push opposite one another, they kind of line themselves up, and the thickness or the bulk is removed from that area. The quilt piece then actually lies pretty flat, and then you'll be able to have a lot nicer job. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she only does hand quilting, and so we were talking about seams, and we were having this exact conversation. And she's like, yeah, I used to press all my seams open and flat like you do for a garment, but now I press towards the dark color. I'm like, yeah, me too. So I don't know if the quilt police are going to come out and find me, my friend, but this is how we're choosing the piece now because we think it's going to make them last longer. Other tip is this is the first one that actually has a spot where you could blunt the inside corners of your block. We've got some corners here. I've got the right hand corner showing, and so this is the trick. This is the trick that they taught me years ago. X marks the spot. I decided to show it to you in a picture instead of holding it up on the camera because I'm sewing with white thread and you probably can't see my thread. But if I go ahead and draw that diagram, if you look at your piecing, when you've got everything pressed, you'll see that there is a line of thread here and a line of here, which I've got shown in the teal color, and I circled it in yellow. You want to put a pin in that spot, and that is X marks the spot. And what my friend told me, this was probably 20 years ago, as long as if your needle of your machine goes through that spot, your X's mark the spot, and you will not get a blended point. And so this is what your points look out. That is the trick to making this block look perfect. That is the trick that none of the quilting books will show you. But that is how you're going to make sure that your quilting pieces, you don't blunt any points and that you can get a nice happy result. All right, so I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to sew my rows together and we're going to look at our finished block together. Okay, so again, same thing. I want to sew these together without blunting corners. Here's another photo of X marks the spot. This arrow is pointing where you want your needle of your machine to go, and you can look at these corners. They are not blunted, which is our whole idea. Here's another photo of X marks the spots. If you look at some of the other columns, you're gonna, here's block 1, block 2. Here we've got in yellow, here we've got it in blue, and we want to make sure that this X matches this X. When you do, you're gonna get nice, perfect little sharp points right there in the corner, as much as you can. It's kind of cool that you can feel the different piecing as it goes underneath the finger of the machine. You can actually feel the seam nesting itself and beginning to lay flat. Isn't accurate pressing great? Look, we have half of it already done, and it's matching up just perfectly. No blunted points. Go ahead and do the middle, and then we'll get the other side. All right, thanks for quilting with me today. You can see we've got our block ready to go. Didn't take too long, right? It was kind of fun. We're beginning to build up our stash. Remember, we did this one last time, and we did this one the first time. So remember, our first trick was to learn how to make half square triangles. Made our very simple sawtooth block. Looks good no matter however you hold it up. I keep spinning it around for some reason. Second one was to learn how to do columns and rows in different orientations. And then the next skill that you got today was how to not blink points, or as I call it, X marks the spot. Hope you enjoy this, and we'll be back with another block next time. Take care.